Alright guys, and welcome to my class picking guide.
You guys hear it okay?
Let's
turn it up a little bit.
So my class picking guide is going to be a bit different to everyone else's class picking guide. I'm going to be very straight to the point.
Perfect.
And give you a good, fast, short and sweet TLDR for every single class and spec, covering the most important topics, let's be honest, that you care about. Is the class any good in PvE? Is it any good in PvP?
Yeah.
And then lastly, we'll finish with some class quirks and unique selling points. By the way guys, if you're looking to level up a new character in preparation for Wrath of the Lich King, or you're looking for a leveling guide in the future for Wrath of the Lich King, I definitely recommend checking over the guides over at ResticSpeed.com. These guides are made by the best speed leveling, world record holding guys in the game.
I know those guys.
To make some serious gold in Wrath of the Lich King, I definitely recommend checking out
I know those guys.
Solheim's Gold Gun Making Guide. You find all the information to that in the description down below, and if you're looking for more
the best part of WoW
class
preparing to play the
videos,
game, yeah.
I will leave a playlist to all of those videos in the description down below because I'm slowly getting through them class by class too. But anyway, enough jibber jabbing. Let's crack on with the video. Starting
Look at these enhancement
with
shaman doing chain
so
lightning
the tables
there.
have turned with the Warlock. Now, Affliction and Demonology are the top dog DPS specs in a raiding environment. Destro it's decent, but realistically, it is just a worse version of a Demonology or Affliction Warlock, but it does provide the replenishment buff if your raid doesn't already have it, from a Ret Paladin or something like that. Both are great at single target and AoE DPS, although the Demonology Warlock definitely is the stronger candidate for AoE DPS. They're really just slightly behind a Mage. Their DPS is stronger during the Execute phase dramatically, so in longer fights, they will creep up on
How many
the
people are
rocks.
excited about
Also,
playing
it's very good to
Warlocks,
hear
dude.
that the
I'm
Warlock
excited.
is a proper pet class now. The play is to always have your pet out. In PvP, they
Demonic
get this great
Circle.
new spell called
Oh,
Demonic
dude.
Circle Teleport, where you place it on the ground, and then you can teleport back up to that location.
PvP,
Affliction
Demonic
will always
Circle
go for
Teleport,
unstable
goes
Affliction now. It's
unstable.
very overpowered because it silences the healer when they dispel it. Haunt can now also be used to increase all dot damage on the target. Definitely not as tanky.
You guys remember Haunt? Oh my god, dude. Is that this video is going to be? Just me going, oh, I remember that.
The board, apart from the prot ret spec, will spec deeper into their trees. Not really that much hybridization in Wrath of the Lich King.
Is it too loud or good?
An Affliction Warlock goes very well in the MLD comp, which is Mage Lock Druid, Shadow Play, which is with a Shadow Priest healer, and then Shadow Cleave, which is an Holy Death Knight healer. Destruction is also very good in the arena, but it's limited to comps that have a lot of control, otherwise the Destruction Warlock just isn't going to be able to get those chaos bolts off. It's going to be hard countered by a melee comp, for instance.
Firestone,
so most people like to play LSD when it plays Destruction. Then Demonology is just worse than the other specs. It relies on Metamorphosis to do a lot of damage, but then without it, you're just more of a noodle version of Affliction or Destruction. The quirks of the Warlock, all the great stuff like Summoning, Health Stones, you got your new Teleport spell, Enslave Demon, you got an AoE Fear, you got the Inferno, the Doom Guard, you got Shadow Fury, which has been buffed
Chaos
to also
Bolt,
have a slow when it's Glyph now. You have your own weapon oils with Firestone and Spellstone, and you also have Soulstone to self-resurrect yourself or one of your allies. Now, one of the big elephants in the room is the Warrior. The simple truth of a Warrior is it's the exact same story with the Burning Crusade. They just scale to become better as the expansion goes on. Once they get a good amount of crit and armor penetration, they will start to pump in Ulduar, and then by ICC they are one of the top DPS, if not the best possible DPS possible when they finally do get Shadow.
Always, dude.
But early on in Phase 1, they will excel on those cheeky cleave fights. As a tank,
look at those numbers,
you are considered the weakest tank now in this expansion, but you can definitely clear over content, no problem. It's just that the other tanks got a huge power spike in Wrath of the Lich King. You also don't have to worry about AoE DPS pulling aggro off you in dungeons anymore, because you just have better AoE abilities and better AoE
Warriors,
threats.
man.
You can also play arms if you want. You provide that great Blood Frenzy buff still, which will complement a physical...
Increases your melee attack speed by 5%. In addition, your Ren and Deep Wounds also increase all physical damage caused the target by 2%. So, okay. So you get a 4% damage buff still as arms. Okay.
Cool damage heavy setup. Now in PvP, the top dog spec is definitely arms. You have that Mortal Strike, which reduces the healing of a target by 50%. Fury really is just a arms warrior with less pressure and less utility.
Right.
They get a lot of needed changes.
Please talk about prot.
First of all, you have much better stance dancing since Tactical Mastery has been moved to the top of the Fury tree rather than the Protection tree. For example, you can easily bump over the defensive stance for a cheeky Spell Reflect. Even more healing reduction with the Unrelenting Assault Talent.
Reduce the cooldown. Okay. In addition, if you strike a player with overpower while they are casting their magical damage, they reduce it. Well, that's pretty good.
Overpower the target while they are casting. So basically, if you overpower a target while they're casting, obviously a healer, then yeah, the next heal is just going to be absolute pants. This is also the Age of Bladestorm. It's great for cleaving the enemy arena team.
Oh, Bladestorm, that's cool, true.
Battlegrounds. They pair well with a very high
Can you
DPS.
sweeping strikes Bladestorm?
For instance, Thundercleave, which is going to be with an enhancement shaman.
An early
Jhaman's
the worm, what's up?
This is the golden age of TSG, Death Knight, and Arms Warrior with a healer, normally a Holy Paladin, just deleting healers from the game. I mean, people will quite literally delete their characters if they're playing a healer in Wrath of the Lich King.
Gonna Bladestorm your ass, Jhaman?
A little too many times.
Yo, do you guys
now
think,
for the quirks,
can you sweeping strikes
in the Fury
Bladestorm?
Tree, you can now equip two-handed weapons, which is always really cool. You got things like Disarm, you got Shattering Throw now, which can break ice blocks.
Right.
You've got Shockwave, the big, juicy AoE stun and protection tree. You've got Spell Reflection. You can charge in combat now. You've also got abilities like Intervene.
Oh, you can
Range
charge
pull
in
with
combat
Heroic Throw,
in
you have to use your gun all the time. You've always got your strong defensive cooldowns
Wrath,
like
huh?
Shield Wall and Last Stand. You've got an AoE slow piercing Hell, and you've also got Vigilance, which is a little ability in a protection tree that transfers threat and refreshes taunt whenever that target is taking damage.
Oh my gosh,
And now for the
dude.
Hunter, this is a
He didn't talk about prod at all in PvP. I mean, he did a little bit. It's all
top
right.
tier DPS.
But I feel like
potatoes
Warriors. We should talk about the fact that Warriors will be incredibly good as prot. I think I'm just because Marco. Just because of Marco. Yo, Breeze Street. Yo, thank you for the sub, dude. I'm just playing. I'm just having some fun. Let me give you some. Push-ups. Yo. 1, 2. All right, let's go. Next, keep watching the video here. Yo, thank you for the sub, man. Appreciate that, dude.
This
Prime
time
Gaming,
round,
dude.
the top
24
dog
months,
specs
dude.
are Survival and Marksman. Marksman
Wow.
is similar to a warrior.
That's 2
It needs
years.
that armor penetration before it really starts to pump.
Jesus.
But you can make survival pump early on in Wrath of the Lich King very easily. You just got to melee weave.
Oh, yeah, melee
to
weave
put the
lock and
traps
load.
down
I
on the
remember that.
target, because what this will do is it will proc that lock and load effect that causes periodic damage of your immolation trap.
That was cool.
That
was really cool, dude. Lock and load was a cool talent.
It's like a free explosive shot, and you can do that every 22 seconds.
There he
Unfortunately,
is, Hoder.
Beast Mastery becomes really, really cool in Wrath. You can, tame things like Devil Souls, but it's just a leveling spec. Not going to lie, the DPS just isn't that great. It's an absolute
Exotic
shame,
pets,
because it's one
yeah.
of the coolest specs in the game. But yeah, really is just a solo farming.
Dude,
or
I'm
leveling
learning.
spec
I'm
now.
remembering so
Now, in
much as
PvP,
I'm watching
most
these
people
little
are gonna
videos,
play
the
Marksman.
PvE
Beast
videos.
Mastery works well
Hodor?
with Beast Cleave, which is a comp with an enhancement shaman. Just has less utility than Marksman, but it may be good really early on in Wrath when people are low resilience geared, because the burst is pretty insane. You can play Survival if you want, but again, it's just a worse version of Marksman because it has less burst and less utility. Getting traps up is really easy now with the ability Freezing Arrow, which will just shoot your trap onto a location where you want
cool.
it. It's when the Scatter Trap combo comes into play. So it's much easier to get traps up. You can also play
you can
free
scatter
traps at
trap
once.
combo at range.
You've
Then
got
that's
Disengage,
crazy.
which has been buffed. This is when Disengage will actually leap you backwards.
Oh.
Aim Shot also isn't casted anymore. It's just an instant ability. It's
Disengage
very OP
making
because
you
it's
jump,
basically
dude.
a Mortal Strike.
Okay.
You've also got Master's Call, which is a 4-second freedom that the pet actually can cast on your allies, so you can cast it while you're CC'd. You've got Readiness, which refreshes all of your Hunter cooldowns. You've got Chimera Shot, which can also disarm. Pet can...
Wait. You can disarm people with Chimera Shot? You deal 125% and refresh the current sting. Wow, dude.
Intervene. And the
Viper
comps for
Sting,
Hunter
Chimera
really
Shot,
goes
get
well
mana
with
back.
is Jungle Cleave, which is with a Feral and a Healer. You've also got Cupid Cleave, which is with a Hunter and a Retribution Paladin. And then you can also, if you're going to play Survival, go with an Affliction Warlock, to have that double dot combo going. And now for the quirks, obviously, you're always faster with your Aspect of a Cheetah. and Aspect of the
African
Pack.
Turtle
You
Cleave,
can
guys.
call a
African
stable pet
Turtle
every 5
Cleave.
minutes now, which is cool. You don't have to always...
That's what it's called. African Turtle Cleave, Prot Warrior, Hunter, Disc Priest. And they just spam, they just mana drain, mana drain, mana drain.
To go back to your stable. And you've also got Silencing Shot. Now let's cover the Paladin. It's the exact same story as the Warrior, if I'm going to be honest. They scale when they get better gear,
Wow.
and they are good on the cleave fights early on. They actually have really, really good natural cleave, because a lot of their single target abilities are also AoE abilities, and we just have to change one of their seals for their abilities to start cleaving, which is really nice. What gives them a really good power spike though is the Ice Crown Citadel 2-set bonus that has a 40% chance to reset the cooldown of Divine Storm, which is one of your hardest hitting abilities. As a tank, you are considered the best tank of the expansion. Insane survivability, insane
Paladins are the best PvE tank?
AoE threat and damage.
Early Jhaman stream? Yo, welcome, Dustin. Yeah, we're just doing some, we're going to watch some videos today, and then we have the noob core tonight, but I'm just chilling.
And now you have a defensive cooldown divine
I'm
protection.
trying something new. I'm trying to find a new way to make content. And by making content, I mean watching other people make content and then just talking about it.
Of Aura Mastery, making the raid immune to silence effects. As a healer, they're also very
Laughs
strong.
and Warrior?
Finally have some AoE healing with this Holy Light glyph. Can heal 2 targets at once with Beacon of Light, which also makes them extremely mana efficient. And you can also go into melee range to get your mana back, you know, with your Seal of Wisdom. When it comes to PvP, Retribution is a mid to top tier spec. They have really good burst damage with lots of support like Freedom, Dispels, 2 sacrifices now.
This is the best kind you've ever made.
Off heals with their Art of War procs. You've got Blessing Protection, their Replenishment talent, which is great because it helps out the healer. They normally played comps like Cupid Cleave, which is Hunter and a Disc Priest. And
okay, so Rhett, this is what Rhett can do in PvP, guys. We got to learn. We got to remember so that next time Marco comes in, we don't. All right, so Rhett Paladins. I should just watch all Rhett Paladin videos just so when Marco shows up in stream chat, he'll just be like, "What are you watching?" Literally, just for that one joke, I'm just gonna watch only Rhett Paladin videos in Wrath of the Lich King. Insane burst aim and lots of support. Holy Beak is OP, healing 2 targets at once, no extra mana cost. Holy Shot crits is fast cats. Less spell push back, plate wear with cooldowns. Rhett compositions, Cupid, Vanguards, Holy compositions, TSG, Thundercleave, LSP. Okay.
Ret Paladin, you got Vanguard's Cleave, which is when you play with an Unholy Death Knight, that's very strong. You can also play with a Warrior too, which is very nice because you give the Warrior freedom. Holy Paladin, absolute top tier, considered one of the best healers in Arena in Wrath of the Lich King. Mainly because of Beacon of Light. This is stupidly overpowered in PvP because you're just constantly healing 2 people at absolutely no extra mana cost. And Holy Shot crits can now turn
Beacon of Light can't be
into
purged?
Instant Flash of Lights. You also have really good reduction on spell pushback with your Concentration Aura, which can be increased with Aura Mastery. You are wearing full plate gear.
Love that you're still running Noob Core. Keep up the good work. Yo, Salt will Salt, thank you. Yeah, we're running, we got Noob Core Maradon tonight, dude. Maradon tonight. I haven't seen it as early before. Yeah, I never come on as early. I always come in late. We're just chilling, guys. We're chilling. Thanks for being here.
Which makes them much more tanky, and you've got good cooldowns like Divine Shield and Blessing Protection. They're normally paired in comps like TSG, Thundercleave, LSP.
Dude.
One last...
He's fighting, in the video, he's fighting an Elemental Shaman right now. It's an Ellie Shaman. Where's the Ellie Shaman? He's on LM. Where else would he be, dude? Where else would he be, right? Like, if I'm an Elemental Shaman, I'm playing Wrathy Basin, this is the only place I'm going to be on the map. Just know it, guys. All Wrath of the Lich King, it's going to be balanced druids and elemental shamans. They're all going to be just upstanding on LM trying to take it because it's just fun to knock people off and you get to instant kill people. Like, of course you're going to be up there on LM and all the priests are going to be up there trying to mind control you, but you just, as a shaman, you just sit there and you earth shock it. But oh my God, dude, I'm telling you, that's if you're ever fighting an elemental shaman in Wrathy Basin, you're at LM.
Last thing to mention is they're actually...
What server are you guys leveling on? We're on Grobulus, guys. If you want to join us, you can join us on Grobulus. ICC is the guild.
Is another spec to play, which is the strongest support DPS class in the arena. It's actually been popularized by private servers. Not many people, well, to my knowledge, really played this in the original Wrath. And it's called Preg Spec or Prot Ret, where you use a one-hander and a shield of a spell power weapon. You spec half into Ret, and then half into protection.
Oh.
It's only really strong very late game when you get lots and lot of crit gear, because obviously your crits will generate these Art of War procs, which provide loads and loads of instant flash
Pregnant
heals.
spec, yeah.
You can also pack a punch.
That's
as well,
exactly what I
turn
thought.
them into
I was like, Preg
damage. So when you're geared
Who's
enough,
getting
you just
Preg?
have constant free flash of lights. So it's almost like having 2 healers in the game. And if you are going to get trained, you will have Reckoning to counter damage for quite a lot. This normally pairs well with a priest or an elemental shaman, or an arms warrior and a disc priest. Now let's talk about the quirks. You now finally have a single target taunt. Exorcism and Holy Wrath affect all targets, not just undead and demons, and you also have a new ability called Sacred Shield. Now let's talk about the best class in the game.
Sacred Shield. Okay. Yeah, Sacred Shield, I feel like he overlooked that for PvP, but Sacred Shield's huge in PvE. It's a bunch of armor. It's a bunch of absorption.
Game, which is obviously going to be the Death Knight. So both Unholy and
Frost. It's just a passive thing that does a lot of work.
Specs, day 1 to the end of the entirety of Wrath of the Lich King. The greatest single target damage and AoE, although Unholy is the absolute king of AoE and Wrath of the Lich King. Arguably the best.
Dude, I remember Unholy Death Knights just being ridiculous. Like, Unholy Death Knights would just, like, whenever there was a fight with, like, 10 targets on the screen, like, it was like, oh, mages, like, the mages, it literally mages in Wrath of the Lich King are like, hey guys, it's an AoE fight, we're here, and the Unholy Death Knights were like, we don't care. We literally, we're passively doing this. The mages are like, I'm putting up a blizzard, I'm blizzarding, and all the Death Knights are just like, everything's dead, we're killing it all. And then, like, you do heroics or dungeons with a Death Knight and a mage, and the absolute ridiculous damage the Unholy Death Knight does when you're running around. He's just putting out diseases everywhere and then blowing them up for every target in the area. It's insane.
Best AoE DPS in the game. Early on they pump because they don't rely on gear, but then they also scale incredibly well with gear. Even Bloodspec can be played.
That's hilarious.
But since most of its damage is melee, it needs a high amount of armor penetration like the Warrior to become powerful, but it surprisingly pumps quite a lot of decent damage because you have really good cooldowns in the Blood Tree, like Empower Rune Weapon and Hysteria, which is an ability that should never ever be casted on a feral druid and should only ever be casted on other fellow Death Knights. As a tank, they have the best self-healing in the game.
That's right. They have a innervate for DPS basically, right? Like it's or power infusion, right? And so everybody wants it, but the Blood Death Knight wants it for himself, right? But you can give it to somebody else all the time. What was it called? Hysteria? Induce a friendly unit into killing a frenzy for 30 seconds. The target's in a rage, increasing their physical damage by 20%, but causes them to lose health every second for... That's hilarious. So you can't do it to yourself? You have to be able to do it to yourself, right?
Should never ever be casted on a feral druid and should only ever be casted on other fellow Death Knights.
Oh, okay, never mind.
As a tank, they have the best self-healing in the game, which allows them to actually solo a lot of old raids.
Yeah.
Probably going to see a lot of that action on YouTube when Wrath does come out.
That's true.
Also, great defense.
Dude, you're going to be soloing Molten Core. People are going to be going in and soloing Molten Core. At one point in Wrath, I think it was. It might have been in Wrath. I think it was Wrath of the Lich King. They lowered the amount of gold and items that dropped, and the vendor cost or the vendor sale price for items in Molten Core. Because people used to go into Molten Core and clear it on like 10 characters, and then they would just they would make like 1,000 gold every day, right? They would go make 10,000 gold because they cleared Molten Core. I'm just making up numbers. I have no idea how much gold it actually is, but
cooldowns like Icebound Fortitude, the best threat generation in the game with Icy Touch. They're just a top tier class across the board. It's to be expected, really. They are the class of the expansion. Now in PvP, they really are a force to be reckoned with. They've got great burst damage, a great cleave damage because they can spread over their dots like a warlock. They've got amazing peels of Chains of Ice. Chains of Ice is extremely overpowered in Wrath because it starts off as a 95% movement speed reduction and then like slowly degrades. You've also obviously got Death Grip.
That's right. That's what it was. Okay, I forgot. Chains of Ice is almost a root when it starts. It goes whoop, it pulls you, and then it slowly lets you go. So you like get rooted, you're like almost rooted, and then you like slowly let go by the chains. I forgot about that.
Before, Icebound Fortitude, massive damage reduction. Death Pact just heals you 50% of your health. Why not? And then Anti-Magic Shield, which totally counters magic damage.
Oh, dude. When you anti-magic shield a death coil or something, oh my god.
Lichborn is the new Will of the Forsaken. Will of the Forsaken actually gets nerfed in Wrath, but then like Death Knights get it for free. Can't complain at that. The only downside is you can be shackled or turn eviled during your Lichborn.
Oh, that's right. That's right. You became undead. Oh my god.
You can set up a macro to remove it when they're casting it. Frost has Hungry and Cold, which is a great AoE freezing trap, basically. But Frost just simply has less utility and less survivability than Unholy, because Unholy, it has Anti-Magic Zone, has Bone Shield, has Desecration.
Oh, Anti-Magic Zone, dude.
Anti-Magic
Zone. We used to use Anti-Magic Zone all the time, and on fights, like, okay, we need Anti-Magic Zone. Death Knights drop Anti-Magic Zone. Like having a cool DPS, like having a DPS have a defensive cooldown for the raid was really cool.
Gargoyle is so overpowered, it could probably just solo a player. It does that much damage.
Yeah.
And obviously, it's very hard to
Oh,
avoid
the new
that
arena.
damage because it's in the air, just constantly casting spells at you. Unless you can shackle it or turn evil it. Unholy goes well in a number of respects. TSG, obviously, which is a warrior.
And imagine it was Biss in retail. I think they capped the absorb now.
Affliction Wall, because that is just insane AoE pressure on the entire team. You basically, there's a ticking time bomb when you play against Shadowcleave. Before that, raw damage is just going to drain the healer's mana, and then they will just win.
Yeah.
It can also go well with Rep Paladin as well. Blood in PvP is more of a meme spec to cheese winning 2v2 games against really bad players to get your arena points. Now for Death Knight quirks, you got Rune Forging, which means for life you have totally free enchants. You save a lot of money in that regard.
Oh, that is
you don't have
nice.
to spend like thousands of gold on your Berserk and enchant. You've got Water Walking, and you've also got a faster mount with a talent in the Unholy Tree. Now for the Mage, arguably the strongest range DPS.
I think I played Unholy. I was an Unholy Death Knight literally just for the mounted movement speed. It was like, hey, you want to go Frost or Blood? And I was always like, nah, because if I do, then I can't get my mounted movement speed talent. Like I literally only wanted the Unholy Tree. I need that mounted movement speed. Okay, it's all about like all the time I spend outside of combat, walking around on my mount, flying around the zone. I need that 20% movement speed. I can't be, we're having a carrot on a stick or something. I gotta have that talent.
Yes, in Wrath of the Lich King, many speedrunners will stack them. I've seen it in footage before. It's a similar story to the Burning Crusade. You will play Arcane until you get insane crit gear, and then you'll swap to Fire. Frost is more of just a PvP and leveling spec.
Okay.
In the Fire spec, you also now get Living Bomb in Wrath of the Lich King, which makes it slightly more interesting because they will proc into some really dirty hot streak procs, which means instant pyroblasts.
Why is this?
And even Arcane spec is a little bit more interesting since you can weave in arcane missiles when you get missile barrage procs.
That's
now,
cool,
in
dude.
PvP, Arcane's just a bit of a meme. Most people are just
What's
going
up,
to play
mate?
Frost. You now got Mirror Image, which is a great bursting ability.
I'm trying to watch a couple videos, see what we can learn about Wrath of the Lich King before we get there. I haven't done any information. Like I haven't done all my research on Wrath, right? So I got to get caught up on what's going on in Wrath. We're gonna watch the Asmongold interview in a bit after this video. I just wanted to I didn't want the first video to be that one because I figured no one would be watching, but we can see what's going on.
You got Frostfire, which applies a slow and a dot. You got Glyph of Polymorph.
Frostfire mages, dude.
When you polymorph a target,
forgot about
dots
them.
on it, well, it'll just remove those dots, so you can always get a polymorph off. Evocation also now regains health with a talent. Sorry, actually a glyph. Dragon's Breath has been buffed. It's now a 5-second disorientate effect. Blast Wave now actually has a knockback, so you can knock people off the platforms in the arena. Firespec also has a talent that makes you immune to silencing kicks for 20 seconds after, being affected by one. It goes well with comps like Affliction and a Boomkin because again it's like 2 DPS classes that have 2 sets of dots. Deep in the Frostry we also get the ability Deep Freeze, which is a 5-second stun and it doesn't break. And it also acts like that target is frozen, so it causes shatter.
Oh,
For 5
that's
seconds,
right.
you can
Oh my
pump into a
gosh,
target
dude.
And get that shatter
You can
effect. You've also got Fingers of the Frost, which is a proc, which acts like the targets are frozen again. So you get
Oh
those
my
shatter
gosh,
procs.
dude.
You've
Frost
also got
mages
a
are
new proc
obnoxious in
effect called
PvP. I remember
Brain Freeze,
that.
which is instant Frostfire bolts. So basically, you don't have to rely as much on getting Frost Novas off to do your big pumper shatter crits. There's loads of different ways that you can get those big juicy crits, which means
That warrior
more
did not
sustain
charge.
and
Why did
better
that warrior
pressure.
not charge?
The only downside to a mage is they're a little bit more squishy. So again, you don't want to get trained or anything like that. But anyway, the mage goes well with a rogue, mage priest, that's RMP.
How much damage
You've got
is he
mage
gonna put
lock
out here?
shaman,
No way.
MLS.
Oh, he
And
mind
you've also got
he
Shatter
stunned
Play,
him.
which
Oh,
is
that guy
with a Shatter
the guy
Priest and a
trinketed.
healer.
Spell reflect?
Probably a feral druid. Not feral druid, obviously a resto druid. Now the quirks of playing a mage, obviously you got portals, free food.
I
you've
feel
got
like this is just
invisibility, which
the
is great at
saddest
the
thing I've
start
ever
of the arena
seen.
game.
It's
You've got
just a
Slowfall
warrior
and abilities
trying to kill
like
a mage.
Spellsteal. And now for the shaman. So both elemental and enhancement are both great in PvE, but there's a little bit of a catch to the elemental spec. Basically, long story short,
You plan on doing some PvP when Wrath drops? Yeah, dude. Me and Mark are going to do some 2s. We're trying to get 2K rating. Is what he said. He said he thinks we can get 2K easily, and then not easily, but we can get 2K, and then not pushing for Gladiator or anything, unless we do really well. But obviously, and here we go, Shaman, dude. I played Elemental Shaman through all of Wrath. I definitely remember falling off later in the expansion and feeling like, all right, cool. I just keep playing the class I'm playing. Elemental Shaman felt really good on cleave fights, but other than that, they didn't feel like they were all that great. Like, they were okay. I did great damage because I had really good gear compared to the other people in my raid or the other people in my groups, right? I always had the best gear in the group, but it didn't mean but like I wasn't as good as like I would see other people just scaling incredibly well as the gear got better and better.
Other classes get huge power spikes later on in Wrath of Lich King, and Eli Shaman, it just doesn't. It just kind of continues to steadily rise in power, whereas all the other classes just, well, they get injected with steroids, and the Elemental Shaman just doesn't.
Right.
But they still provide great buffs that can kind of also be provided by other and better DPS.
Hey.
So, long story short, the Elemental Shaman, much less desirable in Wrath of Lich King. They also get Lava Burst as well, that's important to mention. Enhancement, on the other hand, it's a strong...
Well, you don't even talk about Thunderstorm. Maybe we'll talk about it in PvP.
Pumper from start to finish.
You use Thunderstorm to get mana back when you're moving, by the way. Like, you Flame Shock, you keep your Flame Shock on the target. Whenever you have to move and you can't cast, you're either casting like an instant cast spell, you have one of your shocks, or you're casting Thunderstorm to generate mana, because it generates mana, so you don't actually need to use it to damage targets. I don't know if that was in... That might have been in Cataclysm, though. I don't know if it was.
Finish, but be mindful.
At some point, you were using Thunderstorm in the middle of like movement phases in order to get your mana back.
Really high skill ceiling, to be honest. You do actually have to be good at the game to pump high as an enhancement shaman. It's also important to know that you finally do get the cooldown Spirit Wolves, which is very cool. Resto Shaman finally...
I never liked that Shaman's got a Spirit Wolf talent. I never liked cooldowns on a Shaman. I liked the fact that you weren't a rogue. Rogues get cooldowns, right? I like the fact that you didn't have a big cooldown ability you needed. Like you had trinkets and stuff and bloodlust, but you didn't have like a personal cooldown. I never liked that as a shaman, but I think it was probably necessary for a shaman to balance them out, right? To give them something to make them have the ability to do more damage at a certain point, right? But I always liked that rogues had like cooldowns and shamans were like the other dual wielding class, melee class that had like no cooldowns. They were just always ready to go. Like a shaman's always ready, just always ready.
Finally gets Riptide and has the goodies that it all had in TBC.
Yeah.
But it's very simply just falls behind the other healers on the meter, so you probably won't see many in raids unless a Bloodlust is needed and it's not being provided by an Ellie or an Enhancement Shaman. Now, in PvP, you can play both Enhancement and Elemental, but Elemental definitely is the top dog. Many people consider Elemental to be the best caster in the arena.
Really?
DPS.
I do not remember that, but I always played like 2s. I never played like 3s or anything. I didn't PvP much at all on my Shaman. I always thought it was fun, but I always felt like just trained and hurt all the time. Maybe it'd be better this time. Maybe I should go Ellie.
They finally get the ability Hex, which is like a polymorph. The player can still control it, but it's a curse. So only mages and druids and other shamans can remove it. And it has a very short cooldown in Wrath of only 45 seconds. You've also got abilities like Wind Shear, which is an insane interrupt because it's a ranged interrupt. You don't even have to be in range of the healer. You can kick the healer at the other side of the arena again.
Yeah.
You've also got
on
great
5-second cooldown.
totems
That's
and
insane.
utility like Grounding Totem. You got Stoneclaw Totem, which now
I did enjoy playing Ellie.
Glyph. You got Earthbind Totem, which with a talent will also root the target in place. Again,
Oh, that's
control.
right. You could root
Enhancement
targets with
also has
Earthbind.
Maelstrom Weapon for instant heals or lightning bolts. Purge, again, is always there. Purge can be one of the most OP abilities in Arena. Elemental just has insane burst damage now because of Lava Burst, and you can chain that into a Chain Lightning, and then Chain Lightning also has a 33% chance by default to deal its damage twice. So there's a little bit RNG involved, but yeah, Elemental can just spike out insane burst damage out of nowhere that the healer won't even expect. You combine that with a cheeky Chaos Bolt, the target is definitely dead. Enhancement mostly goes well with melee comps like a warrior, but Elemental can play, LSD, Lock, Shaman, Druid. Goes well with Destruction, like I mentioned before, because you combine their burst.
Okay, you know what it was? I never played with other casters. I was always playing with a warrior and a paladin.
And they have a lot of control.
And I don't think we had the
allow their
synergy.
casts to pop off. Resto's obviously been buffed with Riptide because it's an instant heal. We don't have to, hard cast it. Earth Shield is also harder to dispel because it has, when you dispel,
You move charges now.
A Resto Shaman, it will purge stacks of the Earth Shield rather than removing the whole thing off. And they can also.
I was just watching these three guys kill a single warrior.
They're
now.
likely to be paired with a mage and a warlock, so MLS, or Wind Fury Cleave, which is a ret and a warrior, because obviously that Wind Fury totem is massively buffing a ret and a warrior, and it can also obviously do TSG. Now for the quirks, obviously you still got Bloodlust, and you can also use it in Arena. Enjoy it while you can, because that is going in Cataclysm. You've got Cleanse Spirit, which removes curses. You've got your Cleansing Totems as always, which are really great. You now have Earth Living Weapon, which is a weapon immune that has a chance to give you a hot when you're striking with your melee weapon. Elemental now finally has Thunderstorm, so here come the days of knocking people off the map in Eye of the Storm.
Eye of the Storm,
and
Lumbermill.
You finally get that cheeky ability that can drop 4 of your totems at once, and you can have 3 different presets of the different, totem sets that you want for different environments and different setups.
That's awesome.
Now for the Rogue, you'd be glad to hear that it's not the same story as the Burning Crusade. You are a top tier DPS start to finish, you just have to change your spec. So early on, Assassination is definitely stronger than Combat, because Combat, it relies on armor penetration and crit.
Okay.
Also very, very easy to gear up an Assassination from Rogue, because you can get your best in slot daggers from your auction house for just these crappy blue daggers. When you finally can play Combat, which is normally going to be in Old War, you can do really good cleave DPS now with abilities like Fan of Knives and Killing Spree, so you're no longer restricted to just being able to cleave with your Blade Fury cooldown. You've also got the new ability Tricks of a Trade, which was added in Wrath, which
have a great stream. Have
threat
a good see for
increases
Princess.
damage
Hell
done
yeah,
by the
Flood mode.
target by
Thank you, man.
15% for 6 seconds. It's also important to know that energy now regenerates constantly instead of in ticks. Your big chunks anyway. Now when it comes to PvP,
that's cool. I like the
Simple
energy.
Cold Hard truth is, you probably already know this though, Combat is just a worse version of a Subtlety Rogue, and Assassination is a less worse version of a Subtlety Rogue. Playstyle has totally changed. You no longer just stick on your target and spam Hemo, since your damage is way more bursty and spiky, so it requires you to master perfect CC chains and setups, with your blind, sap, and million different stunning abilities that you have. What's cool is that you get extra crit when other party members will crit. You've also got this new OP ability called Shadow Dance that allows you to use stealth abilities like sap and everything like that while not actually in stealth. Along with Vanish,
everyone's kit starts getting so big, like just massive, giant. Look at those little rockets. He had the rocket arms.
So much better than the other specs.
Oh my gosh!
Compositions you're likely going to go with is Rogue, Shadow Priest, and Healer. And then you've got Scooby-Doo Cleave, which is a Rogue, Ret Paladin, and a Disc Priest. And obviously you can also go RMP, which is Rogue, Mage, and a Priest. Now for quirks, again you always have the quirks that you've always had as a Rogue, soloing dungeons, and pickpocketing, everything like that. You also have the great CC ability Disarm, which counters other melee DPS massively. Also, Feint now will reduce the AoE damage that you take, so it also kind of works like a pet's avoidance effect, which can be very nice. And now for the Druids. So Feral is...
Okay, alright. Feral Druids I remember being very good, but very complicated. Tanks being... I don't want to look at it, but tanks being, really good tanks as well, and being feral allowed you to swap between the two, right? And because we have dual spec as well, it's going to be great for the feral druids, because you can have a feral tank who just swaps to DPS, and they do great either way, right? No matter what gear they're wearing. Balanced druids, don't really remember them being all that whatever, and Resto being Resto. They have a wild growth now, right?
Extremely strong DPS from start to finish, because you could pump without armor penetration, but then also benefit massively from armor penetration. You also finally do get to do some cheeky cleave DPS. As a tank, you're the mid-tier tank. Not much has changed, honestly. You're still a very reliable meat shield. It's just that people love Death Knights and Paladin tanks that a little bit more, but people aren't going to complain because, not many people play tank, so, if a Feral Druid tank turns up, it's happy days. As a balance, you are mainly a support DPS. You provide great buffs and debuffs.
Imagine playing a tank, dude.
But your DPS will always be in the middle of the pack. However, on AoE fights, that really is your time to shine, because your AoE damage is absolute top tier because of
this is the fight.
And Hurricane. Now, the main thing that stands out about a Resto Druid
Deathbringer
is the
Sourfang,
ability called Revitalize. Your Rejuvenation and Wild Growth have a small chance to regain energy, rage, mana, and runic power per tick, so this can increase a tank's
I didn't know that.
Boost DPS.
Feral Druids give rage now?
Absolute solid healer as always. What's nice about this new Wild Growth ability is you can stack it up before AoE damage comes in, and then when AoE damage comes in, everyone.
Oh my god,
he
just crit for 25,000.
Top them up. Feral's also very good in PvP. Now, finishing moves make your nature spells an instant cast for instant clones, instant heals, all that good stuff. Berserk also makes them totally immune to fear, and will actually break fear if you're
How
already
much
in a
damage is that guy doing?
Survival instinct, 30% health boost, great defensive cooldown.
Look at this druid just getting smoked.
Druid is still a little bit squishy, that's the only issue. But not incredibly squishy like a mage, but just a little bit squishy. But normally go in comps like Jungle Cleave, which is with a hunter, or Kitty Cleave, which is
oh my
with
gosh,
an
dude! Watch this
warrior.
warrior and
now,
druid
balance
fighting each other.
Is still limited by the fact that it's a massive hard caster. You will get trained, and then you won't be able to do that much pressure. But at least they're not as squishy because, you know, there's a lot of armor in
the leap, dude.
Form. You've also got abilities like Typhoon to knock people back and provide.
He just put up full dots on that guy and just goes into bear.
I'm probably going to play with a Fire Mage in the Spicy Chicken Cleave, which is probably the coolest sounding arena comp name of all time. May also.
Oh my god, how
LSD2,
annoying would it be to be a warrior
Affliction,
against the Feral Druid, dude? He just bleeds you and then walks
this
away.
This comp is really good for the same reason Shadow Cleave is good. There's a ticking time bomb ticking when that arena starts. If the Boomkin and the Affliction Wallet get all their dots up, it's only a matter of time before the other healer is going to run out of mana and the enemy team will just slowly die. Resto also gets some decent buffs. You've now got an instant AoE healing over time effect while growth. You've got Nourish, which is a much shorter burst heal, so it's easier to, you know, get off.
Holy cow, look at that. Look at that
You've got
fight,
Glyph for
dude.
Swift Mend, which prevents the
you're
Swift
gonna
Mend
lose?
ability from removing regrowth
oh, he
or
cuts it off.
rejuvenation, so you just spam that to your
I was so
max
excited about what was
without
going on in the background.
removing your hots. They're also just generally really good at escaping and continuing to heal during line of sight. They will likely play in comps like MDL, which is Mage Lock Druid, or LSD like I mentioned before. When it comes to quirks, again you get everything that you did in TBC. The only changes here really are Nature's Grass now has free charges, which is really nice, and obviously you can always take advantage of all the great different Druid forms. And that means you always have access to stealth, and you always have access to a fast water-moving form. And lastly, but definitely not least, we have the Priest.
Wow, I didn't realize we went through all the classes already. That's crazy.
Spec is the Disc Priest. Power Word Shield has been drastically buffed in Wrath. It's extremely mana efficient, with talents like Rapture that return 2.5% of your mana, but also grant the target resource regeneration like Revitalize. Holy is still good, with its, you know, cheap AoE healing with circular healing, and you get out jail free card with Guardian Spirit, which is new.
That's right. Oh my god, that's right. We would always make fun of our holy priest because she would appear as an angel after she died, and we'd always be like, "Oh, you still haven't respect." Like she would like constantly. It was every time I was like, "How many angels we're gonna see tonight, guys?" Every time we wiped in Wrath, it was oh my gosh. It was like an ongoing joke.
Nice,
was that every time you died and showed your angel,
Shadow is still
it showed that you weren't
mid-pack
playing the right
utility
priest spec.
and support spec, but at least as the expansion goes on, they don't get worse and worse and worse to just being like slightly above the tanks on DPS meters. We also get a new AoE ability called Mindshear in Wrath of Lich King, so
Mindshear.
they no longer just have to like spread their dots on AoE fights and then do absolute noodle DPS. They can do Mindshear, but the issue with Mindshear is it won't actually deal damage to the target that you're Mindshearing, so you really need big packs for that ability to pump. There's also a lot of situations where the AoE healing of a priest is very, very good. And obviously on your longer fights, Vampiric Touch is also great at regenerating mana to the rest of the raid. In PvP, when you're playing Disc, you've got a new ability called Divine Hymn, which can heal through pillars, which is great. So you can, you know, get some cheeky heals off without actually being in risk. The ability Rapture is very overpowered in PvP, 3% damage reduction on Power Word Shield targets.
Wow.
Crit heals also provide an extra cheeky bubble. And after casting your Power Word Shield, it reduces the cast time on your abilities, so it's just much easier to get your heals off. You also got Penance as well, which obviously heals a target through LOS as well, and it also just packs a punch. Shadow Spec still great.
Use it to
Pain and
finish it.
Suffering,
Dude, Penance was the coolest ability, I think. I think Penance was the coolest ability that Priest got in Wrath, for sure.
You can also refresh your Shadow Word Pain on the target. You've got a new CC ability called Psychic Horror. It's like a Horrify effect, but it can also be used as a 10-second cheeky disarm. Dispersion is your new strong defensive ability.
That's right. That's right. Marco hated Shadow Priests, because Shadow Priests do a ton of dot damage, plus they have a disarm. And then they have Dispersion, where they just become a cloud of poop, and they know you can't hurt them, reducing all damage taken by 90% for 6 seconds. And then it's not like you can Shattering throw it, right? Like imagine Warriors can kill paladins now, right? Because they have Shattering Throw, they can remove Bubble. But imagine having a 90% damage reduction, and Shattering Throw does nothing to it, right? So, like, you have a Disarm, you have Dispersion, you put all your dots up, and then the warrior has no anything to do. He literally has nothing left. He's like, oh, okay.
Ability can be used in all forms of crowd control to break them. The only issue with a Shadow Priest is they do have big ramp up time, like you need to get your dots up, you need to get your Vampiric Embrace up and everything like that. And if you don't,
I bet a Shadow Priest would be really fun to play in Wrath.
Bang in trouble. So it gets countered hard.
But also Disc would be fun too.
Really harsh, bursty comps like TSG. But it goes very well in comps like RPD, which is Rogue, Shadow Priest and Druid, and then obviously Shatter Play when you play with a Mage. It's also important to note that Disc Priest does go well with a number of comps. Now for the quirks, you obviously always have Fear Ward, you've got your Hymn of Hope, which is mana regeneration for the whole party, you've got Master Spell, which can break ice blocks and Divine Shields, and you've also got Power Infusion, which can boost the DPS of a friendly target, or friendly caster. And that, guys, is going to be the end of the video there. My voice box is about to explode after recording such a long video. But anyway, my name is MetaGoblin. To my next video.
It's a long freaking video. Thank you, MetaGoblin. Appreciate you, dude. Hell yeah, dude. That was sick. That's a nice video. Thank you. Gave me some things to think about with Wrath.